Welcome to Blast Out of Stash It, episode 156. If this is your first time catching this show, shame on you. We've been doing this for 3 years, man. Like I said, this is the first time. This is a little premise of the show. We pick up our books every Wednesday, give them all a good read, sometimes twice, and we let you know what we think of them on here. A blast is a turd, a stinker. It belongs in the garbage. A stash is loved, it's caressed, it's saved, it's cherished. So, welcome to our show, and we're going to go and get started with our books this week, and we'll give Joe, go ahead and give us her first book. We got a pretty big list. It was, for me, kind of a big week, a lot of indies, a lot of stuff, so.
Yes, so much great stuff came out this week, and a lot of it I was not able to get my hands on, but I did get a solid 15 books that I can read. First off, we got to say happy birthday to somebody.
Yes,
right
we do.
Here at the beginning of the show. Happy birthday, Midwest comic guy. Unfortunately, because of scheduling conflicts, we can't get all the total group of Blast or Stash It on, but we still wish y'all nothing but the best, and happy birthday to Midwest comic guy. Hope you're feeling good. Hope you're out having a great time. So I normally start off with something to blast, but you know what? I want to stay positive this Sunday. So let's go ahead and start off with DCeased. Oh, my Lord. If you're not reading DCeased, apparently you don't like comic books. I'll make that claim right now. First off, this cover right here, I had my option of covers, and I had to go with that one right there. You got the soldier on the front. It's just great, great, great. Also in this, great comic book storytelling just overall. Green Arrow's witty in it, kind of sarcastic. That's a plus. His jokes landed. They made sense. The heartfeltness of Alfred and Damian in this, meeting up and passing on the mantle of Batman to Damian. Super just hit home. Very powerful, both illustrated and verbally. Superman's concern of people and his presence of duty, Wonder Woman and her call to action, the Flashes sitting there saying, no, we were told by Superman not to be involved in this because they're super fast. If they get infected, legitimately everybody's infected within seconds. You get the urgency of that. We get Poison Ivy in this and her little escapades with Harley Quinn. You get that interaction together, the friendship, love, whatever it is in this storyline, doesn't matter. We get the 50-foot woman. What's her name?
They call her Giganta.
Yeah, they call her Giganta in this one. She's a zombie, and it is freaking horrifying. And then, of course, the bleakness of Cyborg as he blows a hole through her head is absolutely – I got to show that right there just spoke volumes. You know, enough is enough type of attitude. That was just epic. And you can tell that he's infected, but the robot side of him's taken over right now because he's just this bleak mess. Even in the illustrations, you can see where he's kind of rotten in certain areas. So we know that that's happening. Heart Girl gets destroyed. And then last but not least, Captain Atom explodes and this starts happening. I mean, just the bleakness of that. And then probably the most emotional thing that happens in here, Black Lightning holding his two kids, knowing they can't stop the explosion, and just tells them just to close their eyes and, you know, this is going to happen. Oh, man, what a way to leave us on a cliffhanger of what would happen next. This thing is nothing more than a story about, you know, there's a unique term in America. And if you try to use it in other countries, it doesn't make sense. But we use it here in America a lot, and it's try again, right? If first you don't succeed, try. This is an unusual concept in most other countries, but in America, we've built ourselves off of it. And this book is nothing more than trying and constantly failing and failing and failing. Everything they have done up to this point has been nothing but an epic fail. So what are our heroes going to do next in the next 2 issues? Hopefully something gets squared away, or maybe we're left with a real satirical ending of just doom and gloom. Either way, the writers are really hitting on this really hard, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's great. I'm not the guy who hopes that bad things happen all the time, but the truth is, how many things have you tried in your life over and over and over again, just couldn't get it right? And sometimes you just need to take a step back and rethink of things. I think that's where our heroes are going to go with this. This is just classic superheroes failing nonstop and trying to figure it out. Hopefully they come together, build a plan. I don't know how they're going to survive this nuclear blast from Captain Atom, but however that's going to happen, it's going to make sense. And this thing's hitting on all cylinders. For DC and all the troubles that they're having, this one is a home run. I will absolutely love it. It's a hard stash. Not my pick of the week, though, but a hard stash.
Yeah, you think the zombie apocalypse is bad enough, and then you add superpowers to those, and you don't think about all the other superheroes out there, and think about how would that affect them as a zombie. You get kind of taste of it in previous issues with Green Arrow, or not Green Arrow, Green Lantern a little bit in that camping scene. Batman, he's human, so he doesn't really have any special powers, nothing changed there. Yeah. But then you have like Giganta, storming through the city as a freaking 50-foot tall or 100-foot tall zombie. And it's just like, holy crap, that changed dynamics completely. And I do love that scene. Was it on a page turn? I don't remember. I'm going to flip back here. Yes, it was. So the whole part with Giganta, and Wonder Woman's getting ready to chop her with the sword, and Superman's, wait, we can't kill, they're human. You turn the page, and there's a hole in the head. I'm like, oh my God, that is so freaking awesome. I love that page, and that sold this whole book for me right here. Just little thing. But yeah, this is continuing to be good. I do like it is different from the Marvel zombies completely. It's not exact take. They have their own take on the zombies, which is not a copycat, which is great. I think that's a very good plus for them, because a lot of people probably thought when they first saw this book, oh my God, they're just going to copy Marvel zombies. Why even bother? But no, I think this one's good. I think this one has more emotion than Marvel Zombies. I'm not sure if you've ever read that original run on that.
Yeah, I read that, and you're absolutely right. This just hits. Bad thing happens. We see immediately the emotional effects of it on the characters and how they deal with it. I think that connects us to the comic book and the character a little bit more, and good writing should do that. But yeah, this has just been an eye opener every other page.
Yeah, this is definitely a stash for me too, and I think, although I don't know why they have the soldier on the front, he's not in the book at all. Is that Unknown Soldier? Who is that?
I thought it was Sergeant Rock. That's what
I'm thinking, Sergeant Rock.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. Maybe it's an homage to him to some degree, which would be cool, because they've been bringing back, like in the one DC book we reviewed last week, where they kind of did an homage to Unknown Soldier, and he had like a whole squad of people, in that storyline. I think, this is what they do. They bring out the random characters every now and then, and that's great. Like Captain Atom, who would have thought he was in here? But now he's in two different issues. He's in this other issue as well. So, it's time to recycle that intellectual property a little bit to show that you're using it so you don't lose it type of mentality. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
But I guess they are on the verge of a lot of these characters now copyrights ending, unless they renegotiate that and change that up. So.
Yeah, but the way the copyrights are read, I read some of the ones for like, because this is all open source information. The IP just protects it, so it tells you exactly what's up for grabs. And the interesting one about Batman is Batman's up. And like, what is it, 10 years? Let's just say 10 years for right now. However, the bat signal and the bat emblem is not. That takes another 20 years.
Oh, really? Because it was created after?
At a different later time.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of interesting how that's going. I think whoever's going to grab this stuff, and we'll talk about open source stuff when we get to a indie book here. Because the Death-Defying Devil is open source. You can use him now in a lot of his stuff. So we'll talk about the difference between those when we get to that book. But it's kind of nuanced Batman by himself, as far as intellectual property goes, has close to 30 different aspects of it, right? And each one of them are several pages. So it takes a lot of reading. Yeah. And you can look all this up on U.S. Trademarks and U.S. Patent Office.org or .gov. I'm sorry, .gov. Always go with .gov because that's not a scam.
Yeah.
But we'll talk more about that later.
Okay. So I'm assuming we'll talk. I have a question about Superman too when it comes to trademark stuff. You brought up the bat symbol. I'm assuming maybe like Superman's the same way because I just got Treasury Edition of Superman #1. The Superman symbol is totally different than what we know of it today.
Right.
Is that kind of the same thing? So that symbol may have lost its trademark has already expired, maybe, but the other one hasn't. So
the newer one, yeah.
What
did you read this week? Give us a book.
I'll give you a book. I will give you Batman #76, The City of Bane. That's right. This was actually good. I actually enjoyed this. It wasn't all emotional. It wasn't all like poor me or all that mental health stuff. It was all pretty much just action, which was great. And this is the other old Captain Atom in it too. So you got him, pretty obscure character. You don't hear from a lot. Also, bam, he's in 2 books this week. Although he gets his ass handed to him here. I guess he does in the last one too. He gets blown up in space and blown up. But Tony Daniel needs to do the art in every single freaking book. His art is awesome. I mean, most of the time he just does covers, I think. But when he does a book, it's a little present, man. I mean, it's like opening up present and seeing all this great art and definitely detail. I love his Catwoman and stuff too. But yeah, so we still don't have Bruce Wayne though. We have his dad and Gotham Girl kind of going through and kind of trying to, if I remember right, they're taking out heroes and villains.
Yeah, they're the vigilantes now.
Yeah. We still have some of, we don't know what's real, what's not, of course, throughout this whole book. But we don't have that daddy issues. We don't have the mommy issue. We don't have any of that. We just have pretty much action through the whole book, which is, like I said, which was nice. It's nice breath of fresh air for Batman. But we do have the scenes with Batman just like kicking back on the couch, no shirt. He's not talking. Catwoman's coming in and talking to him. We don't know what's going on there, too. I mean, is this still all a dream? Is it kicking back and forth? We have other obscure characters. We have Kite Man back in. I mean, Tom King brought Kite Man back in early in the run on there. So but I love Kite Man because he's always like, oh, well, I'm freaking Kite. I'm not freaking Bane, or I'm not, like he's Batman. I'm Kite Man. I'm scared. So he has that, like, I'm not a big, A-list villain here. I'm like F or G villain here.
Yeah, and he has the superpowers.
Yeah, he just makes kites. So yeah, Atomic Man, is that his name? Captain Atom.
Captain Atom, yeah, he's back in this one.
Yeah, he gets this ass handed to him. He's laying in a hospital bed, and it's Drake. Is that Tim Drake? Who's talking to him in bed? Can't tell. That looks like Damien. But he fought Gotham Girl. Gotham Girl kicked his ass completely, and he said he never has fought anybody like that. And what's kind of nice too about this is the Batman #1 from this series had Gotham Girl and Gotham Guy, or just Gotham. I think that's what his name was.
Yeah.
They're still part of this story, which is actually kind of nice, I think, too. Bringing that new character and still doing stuff with them. Yeah, this was a great book. I'll praise Tom King on this one. Hopefully it continues. This continues up until the very end of his tenure on Batman. So this one's actually a stash for me.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Yeah. First off, great cover. I loved this cover.
Yeah.
I really like these kind of just Batman covers they're doing in a real artistic fashion. Right there in the beginning pages, all right, we get a sexy Catwoman that doesn't look all weird in the face. That's great stuff. And then Captain Atom kind of looking like Silver Surfer a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that.
Right. And we get a throwback to some great villains, or more like second-rate villains, like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Right, Batman, or Thomas Wayne Batman, starts dropping them bodies. He's got his .45 caliber there. I don't know what it is about Batman carrying a gun. I kind of like it. It always looks cool because it's always a .45 caliber.
Yeah.
Like that 1911 style gun. Gotham Girl, Thomas Wayne, and then Gotham Girl are kind of taking up the mantle as the kind of morbid superheroes. Let's say that they're policing Gotham. We'll put it that way. We got villains like the Joker and other ones playing in the role of cops. Everything's turned upside down. It's crazy. And for some reason, we got Kite Man and Scarecrow. They're kind of running their own game right now. We don't know if they're trying to be good guys in this scenario, or if they're just bad guys that the bad guys don't like. Like the relationship's kind of hinky right now. We know that there's conflict between the villains that we got. One thing, never understood why Kite Man is called Kite Man. Shouldn't it really be Glider Man? Because that scene right there where you're trying to fly with somebody. I mean, is it really a kite? I don't know. I don't want to argue semantics on this one. But I've never liked Kite Man in the older comic books. I always thought it was a cheesy character. I never really understood it. But I missed out his whole thing in the New 52 because I was out of comic books at that point. Tried to go back and watch some of our commentators on comic books to find out that they kind of made him an average day guy that just wants to break the law. So that definitely bleeds through into this. That's really, like you said, he said, I'm not a super villain. I'm just Kite Guy. He even references, just doing a bank heist in this.
Yeah.
So you can just do a bank heist. So I liked that aspect of it. I just wish they would change his name. And we get this weird scenario, and I went back to think more and more about this, and I'm trying to figure out what makes Bruce Wayne passed out. Why is he in a coma thing? The last time we saw him, he was going through the Himalayas looking for Catwoman. Apparently found him, and now he's in a coma for some reason. We don't know why. So again, we could be dealing, and it wouldn't surprise me, and I'm talking to you, King. It wouldn't surprise me if all this is a dream in him, and Catwoman's got him. He suffered an injury and he's in a coma and he's just imagining the whole thing. Because King, let's be honest, King just loves his shortcuts when it comes to writing instead of trying to formulate this out into something good. So that wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, this is definitely off center from what King normally does. I like this concept of the superheroes not being allowed into Gotham because the government says so. They're kind of doing this self-policing thing, if you will, that's kind of relevant to today. We have a lot of neighborhoods throughout America that have, the cops are told to only go in there at certain times, only be involved in certain times, and that kind of translates into this book. And what ultimately happens is the bad guys start running things. So that's kind of interesting. I found that to be interesting. As far as anything deeper than that, this is just a good action comic. I would be surprised if maybe King didn't write the whole thing. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else has kind of backfilled it for him and said, hey, this is what a comic book actually looks like, if we write it this way. Because this is very off normal for King to write. But other than that, I thought it was a great book. It's a hard stash for me. And but I'm not getting my hopes up on this. I'm kind of keeping it as mundane as I can.
I think there's only 8 issues left, maybe 6 issues left for Tom King on that. So he's got a lot of wrapping up to do in 6-8 issues. Why don't you give us I'm trying to look at some of the books that you read this week that I didn't. I want to go with one of those. You talked about let's talk about the Death-Defying Devil. We talked about some of the copyrights. Let's talk about that one.
So the Death-Defying Devil, this is an interesting comic book character. He's not particularly new. This is an open source. Anybody can use the Death-Defying Devil. You're not allowed to use the Daredevil name. Now, this is where things get kind of confusing when you talk about open source. So the Death-Defying Devil has been several names. He first started off as Daredevil. Then it was the Red Devil, and he battled the Claw and that whole thing. And then the Death-Defying Devil came out of it. Death-Defying Devil, or just Devil, is open source, and you can use his exact look with the boomerangs, the red and blue, and all this other stuff. So he's a baseline superhero, just to give you some background on him. He's a great gymnastics. He handles boomerangs very well. He has a healing factor and enhanced strength. But other than that, he's a regular guy. And in this issue, I don't like the way they started this issue because you don't really get a whole lot about him. Now, his last appearance in comic books, however, was in Project Superpowers. And if you saw any of my reviews on that, that was a great comic book. They kind of made him a bad guy in that one because he got released from the Pandora's box. This is relevant to his Silver Age story. We don't want to get too involved in that. In this particular one, we have a veteran from the United States Marine Corps who's obviously a gamer, and he's talking to a knock the hell out and beat all to hell Daredevil or Death-Defying Devil. We'll just call him Devil because this is two D's or Triple D.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's had his ass handed to him, and our Veterans is also missing a hand. He's an amputee from the wars, of course, and he starts talking about Audie Murphy and combat and what's it like, and Devil's not really saying much. Then we go to a street view of finding out exactly what happened. A minority couple is walking down a road, and there's a gang of people that work for a businessman that wants the house that they live in. This is where things get weird. And to get them out, they do like a batteries not included type assassination, or not assassination, but harassment of people, right? They just harass them. And apparently these guys are kind of bad because they have tomahawks and stuff like that. Well, for some reason, unbeknownst to us, the Devil just comes out of nowhere and he holds up. I did like the art in this. I love it when artists do this. He's got his hand up like this for some strange reason. He gets rid of one of them, and then he goes to four because he doesn't talk, right?
Okay.
I thought that was fun, and I also love it when artists do this kind of stuff.
It shows the action.
Of them flipping, and it really brings the action to life. So great action in this. Somehow or another, the bad guys have a superpowered person, but they don't really draw it out very well, I don't think. And this person's stronger than the Devil. They get to beating the crap out of them, right? They just totally kick them, but they don't kill them. The people in the house grab them. Now, here's what gets weird. This is where the story gets like just off kilter. The house is full of the most diverse people I have ever seen in my life. More diverse than people living in apartment buildings, and they're all the tokenized stereotype versions of particular characteristics. And again, when I read this, I didn't bother to see who the reader or writer was. I just read the comic book, and if it gets weird, of course I want to know. And this gets very weird. We have a lesbian couple. We have the veteran suffering from PTSD. We have the black guy who probably dresses just a little too nice. He's like a Samuel L. Jackson type of person. We get a senior citizen starlet that used to be in the pictures, as she used to say. We get all kinds of craziness like that. And everybody's just completely different, opposite, but for some reason they can all live under the same roof. Whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and give you all a spoiler alert on this. The one character that's never explained is this little girl with the unicorn thing right here. She talks very weird. She goes up to Devil and is like, "Oh, you got owies," and gives him kisses. And I'm like, this character's not interacting with nobody else in the frames on a regular basis. So it gets weird. And then I see this panel right here, where she's swinging on a tire swing right before the villains come. I think what we're going to end up doing, this is my prediction, it's probably a ghost or an hallucination of some sort. We'll get that story later, I'm sure. Bad guys show up to do more damage to people because why not? They want some of the women in the house. Yeah, gang of guys who's going to go knock on a random door and say, "Give us your women." I don't know. That didn't seem to really make sense to me, but whatever. Because it gives a reason for the Devil to get up off the couch and go do some damage. And he does. He literally crushes some guy's hand. He's got boomerangs. Then he finally says something. It's basically down to the effect of "come find me." So all in all, I liked this. And knowing who Gail Simone is, who's the writer of this is going to get weird quick. But I like this. This is a stash. I like the diversity in the house of everybody being completely different. The veteran that's missing a hand but is still a gamer, I don't know how that works because he's always holding a controller. So I don't know how he's just a regular PS controller, whatever. But he's missing a hand. I liked a little homage to Audie Murphy right there at the beginning. That was pretty cool. But other than that, the story is pretty bland. Not a lot of detail to it, which is okay. But hopefully that kind of hashes out a little bit and we don't get too weird because this comes off, and I've heard other people's reviews on this. A lot of people don't like the fact that the gang's full of white people and the house is full of diverse people and it's white people who are, I don't care about that. It's a comic book. I'm not caught up on their color. They could be whatever. What does kind of bother me is this kind of lazy connection of, oh, we want your property because it's in the ghettos and it's worth so valuable. So we're going to send some guys over to rough you up. That's kind of played out. Like every other movie in the 80s pretty much did that. So on that. But other than that, this is good. I am interested in this villain. I want to know why he's superpowered and who he is. And it's good to see the devil in comic books again. It's an interesting character. Its original storyline, being the Bart Hill one, is very good. It's very reminiscent of Batman, but it's just a little bit more psychologically damning to him. So that's fun. So all in all, it's a stash for right now, but I can see where this is going to go to some degree. I hope I'm wrong. I don't mind being wrong, but yeah, it's a stash.
Yeah, so I think Dynamite, Xenoscope, and a lot of the other smaller publishers, they do a lot of that stuff that's gone now. Trademark is up or copyright's up.
So some other things that kind of fit along with this, if you read Project Superpowers, all those characters are open domain. So the Black Terror, you're going to see that coming out soon. Black Terror is an awesome character. Hopefully they keep them awesome. The American flag, like legitimately the embodiment of the American flag in Project Superpowers. A young minority lady, the Spirit of America, chose her. The Fighting Yank, that's a good one too. I like seeing some of these Golden Age characters kind of be relevated into modern times because they're just classic characters with classic stories, and it's where a lot of superheroes backstories and stuff actually came from, was based off of a lot of these characters. So it's good to see them kind of resurge.
Now, just because Diamond's publishing a book with Death-Defying Devil, whatever, somebody else can still publish a book with him in there too, right?
Yeah.
So they don't have rights to him right now, like a limited right. So anybody else, and you know what? We're going to do the same thing and screw him.
If they do, and you did come out with it, I mean, you obviously can't make it exact. You have to show some sort of option where you've made it different in some way.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So you put an emblem on the chest, or maybe make it black and white, or whatever you want to do, or maybe change the name a little bit. You can't take exactly what Diamond's done. There has to be some sort of difference to it.
Okay.
So what they mostly do is they just change the origin story. That's a very common thing to do.
Okay. My next book, I'm surprised you didn't pick up, but you said you had some issues. You got to the store a little late, so you missed some of the indies that were out this week.
Yeah, all the indies got snapped up. Anything that was on Comic Key Collector was sold out of my comic book shop by 9 o'clock. So,
yeah, so I picked up. It was kind of talked about a lot on Free Comic Book Day. They had that one. That is Dark Age #1 by Red 5. So I picked up the Red Coat. I actually got the 1 in 10, which is the one that people are spec'ing on right now because it's going
now,
for.
Is that the same story that's in the Free Comic Book Day? Because I have the Free Comic Book Day one.
Some of it. I think it's a few pages of it. It's not the whole story this here. This continues on. Because in that Free Comic Book Day one, if I remember right, it kind of goes into the whole what's going on with this world. All of a sudden, all the metal disintegrates. The jumps in the future 13 years, and it talks about them surviving without metal and stuff like that, and how they kind of build tribes and very post-apocalyptic kind of stuff going on. That this expands on that a little bit. So at the beginning, if like I said, if I remember from the Free Comic Book Day, the family's sitting in a restaurant, all sitting around having a little ice cream. There's a dad, there's a daughter, there's a mom, and she's pregnant. And this event happens where all the metal's disintegrating. The restaurant ends up disintegrating around them. She ends up dying, giving birth, and then it jumps ahead 13 years to where now that kid that was born, that was a son. He's now about 13, and the other girl's about 20-ish, maybe right around there, maybe late teens. What I don't get, and I don't expect comic writers or comic artists to know everything. I definitely don't know everything either. But if all of the metal had disintegrated, there is no way that you're going to go into a city that's like this. You can even see the buildings in the background, the bridges. That's all reinforced with steel. there's no way those buildings would be up. Absolutely no way. So, I mean, that kind of pulls me out a little bit, you know, because again, too, somebody who just writes and draws, they may not know what it takes to reinforce a bridge or reinforce a building that steel's actually running through it. They maybe don't know that. That's fine. I guess I can overlook that. But yeah, so it goes on. The dad and the son are out hunting. They get attacked by these cannibals. The older daughter ends up showing up. She's a total badass. She has like this, almost like a cricket club with like sharpened rocks or glass or something, and just like cuts a guy's head completely off. So she is the badass of the group. And so as they dispatch of those people that attacked them, they're thinking, you know, if these guys don't come this far north, I think is what they say, you know, and we're having a lot of elk going on running through this part of the country, which we didn't have before. We better try to investigate what's going on. They end up traveling down to find out there's this reinforced group, and they end up taking a couple of the guards hostage. They're kind of outlying from the rest of the group, and they're trying to talk to them, figure out what's going on. There is some other stuff in here that's kind of like, oh my God. So one of the guards they capture, they're questioning him. They're saying, this is what the guard says: "You jackquibs have no idea who you're messing with. I'm close personal friends of the Emperor." And then Dad, from the beginning of the book's like, the Emperor? Some a-hole is calling himself the Emperor? And then the guard goes, "Herself. Get woke, dude." And I'm like, oh, dude, really? We're going to add that in there? I don't know if we're going to be using that language 13 years from now during the apocalypse. Are we going to be that PC? Probably not.
It's going to get savage quick.
Yeah. It's not going to make a damn bit of difference. So they do find out they're using these weapons, but they're like a paintball gun, essentially. So it's all like carbon fiber, and but it's able to hurt somebody pretty bad. And as they figure out what's going on, they go back to their tribe and they're talking, and we find out that this main character, the girl, actually had heart surgery like 6 months prior to this event that happened, and now all of a sudden her medicine that she's been taking, her dad's been rationing it, and she's running out, and they're saying if she doesn't get any more of this medicine, that her heart will be rejected and essentially she will die without having that. I don't think it was as good as it was hyped up to be in from the Free Comic Book Day, so it's not my pick of the week. There were some other indie books. I was stretching it. There were some other indie books came out this week that I liked more than this one, even though this one was really, really hyped. I could see it could go further and probably catch more of a following. I'll pick up issue 2 to kind of see where it's going. But other than that, I mean, it wasn't this great issue like I was really hoping it would be for me.
It's just more like a setup issue. They're just setting up the world, so you kind of understand the environment. Did it seem more like...
Like I said, you just stepped out to probably grab more coffee or whiskey or whatever it was. The main character has a heart condition. She had surgery like 6 months prior to this event, and she's run out of medicine, and her body's going to reject the heart. It seems weird. After 13 years, it seems like your body would have already rejected the heart. Or gone through, but I'm not a doctor though, so I wouldn't know.
I don't know either.
But it's not as good as I was hoping it would be. I'll pick up issue 2 though to see. I think I ordered the 1 in 10 on the issue 2. Hopefully they'll get it.
Don't worry, it will turn into a Netflix show. It says, like I said, I read the Free Comic Book Day one. I think I even commented on it. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be, because that's the way it reads, right? Yeah. You set up the world, then the internal conflict, and then the external conflict, but you don't really get to see a whole lot happen. Yeah. So that's where that first issue kind of came off to me. So I'm thinking it's another screenwriter that's trying to break into shows or movies or something, that's legit. That's fine. But remember, as comic book readers want to read a good story.
Yeah. If hopefully it gets as big as Walking Dead, then I'll just sell my copy that I have. I have 2 copies of it, so yeah. There goes the speculation talk for the show.
Yeah. Millions. All right.
Yeah, so you're up, Joe.
Should I talk about something good or something bad? I kind of made a boo-boo on my own channel, and I've gotten some comments about something that I did on there. So I'm going to keep it positive today. Let's talk about my pick of the week, Savage Avengers. If you watch this show, and you've been watching it lately, I can't tell you how just great this comic book is and everything that goes on in it. We hit all the buttons that make a good story. We have climactic parts where bad things happen. We have hit you in the heart situations about family. We have everything you could possibly want in this. I got this 1 in 25 variant. Again, I don't know what's going on with the face there, but if you look at it from here, it's a pretty kick-ass cover. I don't want to go over the whole story again. So basically, we have a wizard. We'll just call him a wizard. And he's trying to erect a god called the Marrow God. And our heroes are there to fight it. And finally, they've resurrected this god. And at first, I was like, oh my goodness, did they rip off the Joker Who Laughs? Because that's when it kind of came off first with the spikes, especially in this panel right here. That's the one I really wanted to show. It looks like the Joker Who Laughs a little bit. I thought that was funny. And he tells the god, hey, those feast, eat, because apparently the more this thing eats, the bigger it gets. And it gets big pretty quick. Wolverine, being Wolverine, jumps into action, jumps towards this thing's jugular, and apparently cuts through and enters the body, and Wolverine's gone.
That was kind of a weird panel, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of.
I thought it was kind of weird too. Like you see him going in, his legs and everything, and then like ping, he disappears, and you're like, where did he go? That's kind of weird. So, but still great, and it makes sense. It's not the first time we've seen Wolverine be the first one jumping into action and this kind of thing. We get Conan. He's got a smaller symbiote attached to his chest that kind of moves around and kind of goes into the sword, and him kind of protects him a little bit. We got Elektra doing something really cool in this one. If I had to pick a leader out of the group of characters that are there, I think Elektra definitely stepped up and was the leader, and it read very well. And it's very no holds bar, take no crap leadership role. And I really liked that. Makes sense to me with Elektra, being, part of the hand, leading the hand and the whole 9 yards. I thought that made sense. And a character we don't really get a whole lot of information on. Of course, Brother Voodoo is in this as well. He's our sorcerer supreme, if you will. As we go through this comic book, they're battling the wizard. The wizard's super strong. Elektra can't even stab him with her size. By the way, the size, the little forks, is that a legitimate weapon? Like, I never understood why that weapon would be so cool. But we see it in Turtles, and we see Elektra using them. I always thought that was stupid.
It changes in length, though, doesn't it?
I'm sorry?
Then the side changes in length. When he pulls that out of his chest, it's like super freaking long.
Yeah, it's really weird. Conan saves Elektra's from the side getting thrown back at her. And we see this wizard kind of screw with Punisher's mind a little bit. He's going back to the memory. And in the memory, it kind of shows him hiding behind his wife while they're all being shot. And, the wizard kind of manipulates him a little bit with this. Is this what a hero does? Hides behind, their family and why she's getting gunned down. And we just see the tragic of that. I thought they explained that. I mean, you didn't even need words to explain what he was doing there. That was just, I was like, oh man, they're really screwing with Punisher on this one. And it does affect him. It makes him kind of stop, right? And I love the emotional aspect of kind of screwing with the Punisher in this, because it never works out in your favor. Elektra picks up a gun, starts lighting them up. More bad things are happening. Magic's happening. This thing is just nonstop. And then as a final farewell, the evil wizard guy says, well, here, I'll give you back your family. You can thank me later. And they come back alive, or at least we think so. Brother Voodoo knows what's going on. He knows what this is. If you make an emotional connection with these type of demons that are making themselves look like the family, then you're attached to them forever. So to get Punisher to shut up, he takes away his mouth. Like, just, nope.
That's right, yeah.
Silence. I thought that was great. I love that going on because Punisher's not the kind of guy that you can just shut up. You would legitimately have to take away his mouth. I thought that was great. Moving on, gives him back his mouth, and you kind of see the tears in Punisher's face start happening when he realizes what just happened. But the best thing that happened in this entire fight scene is when Punisher, they're like, grab your gun, get up, we got to work, whatever. We need your gun. He doesn't say a word. He stands up, he grabs his gun, reaches over and grabs Brother Voodoo's glasses and throws them on his own face. And I was like, that is something you would definitely see in a late 80s, early 90s movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That is just great. So the Muro God, the big bad in this one, is in our universe, and they have to teleport to go get him. And then, again, just every other page in battle in this thing, there's something epic that happens. And I just thought this was great. Conan's now going to lead the charge and fight him. And then out of nowhere, the Venom symbiote is a dragon and attacks the Muro God. Just out of nowhere. And then there's some banter going back and forth between the Venom symbiote and Conan's symbiote and Elektra has to break up the argument and says, fine, you both wore the same dress to the same party. Get over it. We got to fight. I thought that was just epically awesome. So now we got our heroes all coming together. And then we get this beautiful, quick little splash page right there of the team together. Wolverine's back in the picture. He cut himself out of the God, and now they're all together. So it was great because in a way we had that typical trope that often happens when two heroes meet for the first time, right? What do? They fight. We got that really quick, but Elektra cut that off as quickly as possible and reminded them that we're all here for the same thing. Because sometimes those conflicts can be kind of drug out and long-winded, and it just makes for just, hurry up and just fight together, right? We finally got through that as quickly as possible. We have a united team, kind of freaking dragon. We got Conan, who has a symbiote in him. We got Wolverine back with claws. We got Punisher back, and he's not happy. We got Brother Voodoo, who's actually a character that's making a presence in this comic book instead of just being a character in it. And, it's just been epically awesome. The savageness of it, they focused on the savagery, how savage each one of these heroes can truly be, and the conflict that they have to go over and how it affects them. It's just been awesome. This new way that they've been kind of doing the Punisher here lately, I haven't read the main storyline for Punisher, but everything else from War of the Realms and this, I'm really liking this Punisher. I can't wait for new Null, I think is what it's called out, or new Call, or whatever the new Punisher book that's coming out.
Oh, Kill Crew?
Kill Crew, that's it. I can't wait for that to come out because that's promised to be that same War of the Realms type of Punisher there. So I'm kind of excited about that. But this is my pick of the week. Every time there's a conflict, there's something amazing that happens in it. And that's what makes a good comic book. Good job.
Yeah, there were a couple panels. Art was kind of like the whole lot going on. I had to sit there and look and try to figure out what was happening in that panel. The part when the big monster is like stomping on Conan, that one panel there, I'm like, what the hell's happening? Well, I can't tell a whole lot from the background. Finally I got it. There were a couple panels like that. There were some great stuff. With Punisher, always his weakness is his family, because that's the only thing that, if he had his family back, he wouldn't be Punisher. He tried to be a family guy. And I think with anybody who's been in the service and been in any kind of team, being called a coward and hiding behind other people, that affects people a lot.
Pretty well.
There were some other great panels, like the Wolverine just like poof, disappearing into the neck of the monster, which he does show back up later. I do love the scene where that big monster picks up that bus, rips it apart, and he's like holding it over his head like he's dropping the last bit of chips out of the bag.
Like he's taking a shot.
to eat those people. That was a pretty good panel. Overall, this has been continuing to be great. I do love the the team itself, because it's not a team you normally see. This is not the Avengers or Justice League. It's not like those kind of goody two shoe guys.
Right.
These guys are on the borderline of, that are they good or they bad, anti-hero kind of thing.
And the truth is, the most superpowered one of them all, I mean, I guess you could say Wolverine and, of course, the Venom symbiote, right? Those are the most powerful ones. Everybody else is kind of a street-level character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is continuing to be awesome. I forgot who Duggan, that's right. And I don't know if this is going to be ongoing or if this is just once this is done, this arc it's done. I'm not sure, but I really hope not. Now, you talked about Brother Voodoo, taking the mouth away, from Punisher and not letting him talk. Now, if you read like this week's Punisher, he does not shut up in that book. That made me think, oh, well, that's right, because I read that and they're like, he's talking to Black Widow in that book, and she's like, dude, just ever shut up, And so, yeah, it's definitely a stash for me too. I wish I could have got that 1 in 25. That's a cooler cover than the regular cover. Yeah. See here. Let's talk about that in my done stack. We talked about Batman. We've talked about Dark Age. Do I know enough about Space Bandits to start on that?
Well, tell us about that Dead End Kids thing.
Oh, the Dead End Kids? Right? That
was... I need to refresh my coffee. I didn't read
it. This was by SourcePoint Press. One thing was really weird about this, there's no barcode to scan it, so I went to go buy it. I'm like, there's no barcode. So they just end up looking it up in the system. Again, with SourcePoint Press, and I give them props on this because Marvel and DC don't do it unless they want to charge you $1 more. These great thick covers on here, and this is not like a paper. This is almost a very slick cover. So basically, it just talks about these 4 kids. They're teenagers in high school. They're kind of misfits a little bit to some degree. They have a little clubhouse. Each one of them has their own problem. One's a foster kid. One kid, his mom died. And it just goes on to talk about their problem. Like every teenager has problems. And so it's, not necessarily to this same degree, but, everybody going through that transition of being a teenager has problems. So that's the whole thing. So I think this is probably the late 90s, if I'm not mistaken, because looking at that Apple computer right there, I'm assuming that's late 90s. So I remember those Apple computers. And so, they have a little thing, they get together and they're all sneaking beers out for one of their friends' birthdays to hide out in their little clubhouse. And what was crazy about it, so they're in their drink and they're talking because it is one of the kids' birthdays. And so they're in the clubhouse surprising him. It's as if Stephen King or John Hughes had their way. Every screwed up kid would find another screwed up kid, and they'd all fix one another. If only we were kids. So again, it talks about their problems, and they leave the clubhouse, and they run into this dude. He's just like a little Limp Bizkit, Fred Durst kind of looking dude. Because it's the late 90s. Yeah, so it's the late 90s. He's wearing the red cap backwards. And he's like a pot dealer. He sells a pot. And the kids come out of the little clubhouse, and the Fred Durst guy is like, "Hey, Benji, Murphy, hey, other kids, what's up?" That's all he says, "What's up?" They're like, "What do you want?" "Nothing. I was just saying hello." They're like, "Dude, where I told you we don't want to buy weed from you." And they're like totally getting aggressive with him, and he's just like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" And then it escalates into a thing where the kid pulls a knife out on him, the Fred Durst dude, and I'm like, dude, that escalated very quickly because he wasn't being a jerk. The other kid started being a jerk to him. He wasn't even saying, "Hey, dude, you want to buy weed?" He was like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, "We told you we don't want to talk to you." He has a knife pulled out on him. Another older gentleman comes over, and it says, he gets in his face, throws the Fred Durst down on the ice, and the other kids go away. He's like very, get off my lawn kind of guy, very old, grumpy kind of guy, like Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino, Get off my lawn, you. I'm not going to say
my lawn with an M1 grunt.
Yeah. So it keeps going back and forth. They're talking, hey, it's street lights are coming on. Hey, that's my cue. We better get going. I forgot to mention this is the middle of winter, so they're kind of on a pond. That's kind of where their little clubhouse is, close to it. And then it jumps back the next day, and 3 of the kids are together, and there's a big police are putting tape out around the pond. They find out that their friend they said a birthday party for had fallen through the ice, and then now his dad, he drowned in there. But they think he was killed, not that he was an accident, because the ice was pretty thick, and they blame it on Fred Durst, of course. So they're going to go try to find him. They're out there scouring the pond and around the banks and stuff like that. And then they, as the book ends, we have they see Mr. Fred Durst walking out with a baseball bat. And that's just how it ends. It's just another one of those tales of kids coming from screwed up homes, screwed up families, and I don't know. It didn't do much for me. I don't know if this was kind of on like a lot of people's radar either. I don't know if it was kind of like, hey, this is an indie book I might want to pick up. I didn't hear much about it. I remember just seeing it in a previous guide. Like, okay, it's a number 1. I'll order it. So I don't know if it's going to go anywhere or anything with it, but I don't think it was that great. Even though, late 90s, I was 22, 23. So I'm a little bit older than what this group of kids is, But yeah, I don't know. It's a blast. I won't pick up issue 2 on it, but that's it. It's murder. It's betrayal. It's ice. It's dudes getting pissed off at other dudes just for saying hello. I don't know. What the hell do you want? God damn, dude. I smoke pot doesn't mean I'm an asshole. What the hell?
Let's talk about some more popular books that came out. You wanted to talk about Space Bandits. We'll get to that one. All right, let's talk about House of X number 2. Now, I read this book, and then I read it again. Then I read it for a 3rd time.
Oh, really?
So why did I do that? Am I just slow? Maybe I don't understand things? Sure, I'll eat that one. This is my synopsis of this story because it's so confusing, and even it has potholes in it. So bear with me on this review. Our character can be reincarnated, and when it's convenient to the storyline, it's resetted a timeline. When it's convenient for the story. I have proof of my claims. So our character, what's her name? It doesn't even really matter. It's a generic
McTaggart.
character. Yeah, what?
McTaggart, I think is her last name.
Yeah. We'll call her TT. All right. So TT's born, and then and here's the thing. If you want to read this book and find out how confusing it is, every time you read the book, go back to their own timeline that they made in here and see if it makes any sense. All right. So we read her first life, if you will, and she lives. I'll go to the timeline. It's bad that you got to reference things in a comic book. She lives to the ripe old age of 74 from congestive heart failure. So she lives really old. Now, I want you to take a look now and make sure I'm not crazy, but it seems like everything's kind of old-timey, even down here where they talk about their family right before she dies and everything. They kind of have this cottage-looking house. It looks kind of old-timey. So I'm assuming that age of 76 did not happen in current period. I know this is trust me, you guys are going to hate this. Grab a pen and piece of paper and tell me if you can figure it out. So she dies. Apparently, she gets reincarnated into a more modern time. We're assuming the same parents, maybe. I'm not sure, but she's able to retain all of her knowledge, and they think she's a genius. Then we get this garbage, these words and everything else. I don't really care about it, but I read them. It's nonsense. And then here's where things get weird. In this second life that she has, she runs into or tries to talk to Charles Xavier in a bar. Look at the way she's dressed. Look at the way everybody else is dressed. It's kind of interesting. We're probably looking at 70s, 80s wear, but let's not get tied up into that. All right. She meets Charles Xavier. They say words. Plane crash happens. She dies. She can't ever really get some sort of formulated plan. She dies, gets reincarnated again. She chases a different field, so therefore she has a different thought. Now, I will say this. This book is a great example of how what you've learned and what you've educated yourself in can change your views and your means in the world. Because she constantly gets a little bit more extreme each time she learns a new thing. So, again, we're back to the scene. Everything is pretty much the same. Same clothes. Like, she didn't even bother changing her clothes, right? She develops the mutant killing gene that can cure people. People have a problem with it. No Face comes in, has trouble reading her future because she reincarnates. 2 pages later, she's able to read her future all of a sudden, even though she said she couldn't because it's never ending.
I guess I never caught that.
Yeah, it's weird. So I'm like, okay, so what do? They set her on fire. Like, legitimately, they just set her on fire. Okay, she dies a tragic death. She comes back. Everybody's dressed the same way. So we have to assume it's in the same time frame. She hooks up with Charles Xavier, gets smoochy face. She takes another degree field, another form of education. And then we get this confusing panel. Why this was a thing, I don't know. Like, it didn't really explain anything other than the X-Men have been around for a long time. Okay, the Sentinel thing. All right, we go back to that. We find out about the future. We're moving on. She turns into an assassin out of nowhere because she gets yet another degree or another skill set in this one that changes her views on things. We talk about the Sentinel, the Mother Sentinel. Then all of a sudden we get now she's died again, and now she wants to talk to Magneto and join the Resistance. Okay, and then the Age of Apocalypse happens. That timeline. And then we move on, and she's a baby again. And now we go back to issue 1 where they're on a park bench talking again. And that was in issue 1 of both storylines. And then we get this confusing thing. So I have to assume, and it gives all the time she died and when she met, and it goes on and on and on. So I have to assume to some degree that time would have to start over. That's why she's able to see Charles Xavier each time wearing the same clothes in the same place. You would agree with that. Her longest life that she's ever lived thus far would take her so far into the future that she could deal with all the things in that timeline from those storylines, from right there in their own book, all the way up to the Age of Apocalypse, right? Why? What? Why? Why does everybody saying, oh, this cleans up the timeline? No, this makes it more confusing. The longest she has lived in this book that actually gives an age to it, because it doesn't complete the 42 to the 52, is when she was 74. That's the oldest she has lived thus far.
Okay.
So how would that push her so far into the future that this story makes any sense?
Let's see here. Well, we had that's the War of the Apocalypse, right?
No, this is the Sentinel, the development of the Sentinels. I'll give you one even better than that. Tell me how everything in this picture, in the future, would make sense for that storyline or any of those timelines.
Because she would have seen it happen already in her first storyline, what you're saying.
If she lived that long.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get, and I'll be fair about this. I get what the writers and the illustrators are attempting in this. But if you draw this out, and let's say you take each one of these lines, take a sticky note, right? And you take the sticky note and you put it, okay, this is the timeline for this. Look at everything that's going on in there. Make notes of technical advances or whatever. And do that each time. you're going to realize that they're just making shit up. they're just, it doesn't make any sense. But we're doing our best to clean up the story, because that's one of the complaints that people have always had about X-Men is, okay, when did the Age of Apocalypse happen compared to this? Why does this happen here? It's been kind of convoluted because it's comic book storytelling, and nobody really gives that much concentration to continuity. Fine. We're just trying to clean it up as best we can so we can tell this new story. That's how I'm looking at it. And with that said, the thing read like Groundhog Day to me. I don't like these stories that constantly reverberate the same time thing over and over again. Just because you reincarnate does not mean that time starts all over again. And what does that do for time overall if it's constantly started? I guess we've never had any future. But if we look over at Powers of X, we see the 1, 5, 10, 100, 1,000 years in the future. But according to this one, that never happened because you can't go that far. I don't know. You tell me. But I mean, that's me being picky. Like, legitimately, that's me being picky. Overall, I thought it was a good idea to clean up that kind of stuff so you can tell a new story, relaunch a new story. That made sense. I'm not going to get too dumb into it. I will pick up the next issue of both this and Powers, because apparently they're going to run parallel to each other. But I'd have to blast this issue because it just didn't make any sense in any linear fashion that they tried to explain in it.
This book made more sense to me than the first one did.
Yeah, I'll go with that too.
I definitely like this book more. When I got done reading it, I only read it once, which is really weird for me, because like that first X-Men book I had to read through twice to kind of try to get an idea of what was going on. This one I read through once. Maybe I was really wide awake. Maybe I had my 5 cups of coffee. Maybe I was really good and really focused on what was going on. But I actually enjoyed this book. Now, at first I was kind of confused, like you said, because she's getting reincarnated. Okay, so is that she died at 74? Say it's 82 when she died. Does she reincarnate at 82 and then move forward? And then I finally realized, okay, no, Xavier's the same age as she was in the first story. Okay, so she's getting, it is a Groundhog Day situation where she constantly goes back to that. The No-Face girl that comes and threatens her for making the anti-mutant life equation, whatever that was, she tells her, hey, if you die before your mutant powers get created, you don't come back. That doesn't explain, though, why does she have her mutant powers when she's a kid building blocks? She's talking about remembering all this stuff and knowing all this stuff. Wouldn't those powers not kick in until wouldn't she not have a memory until she was 13?
See, that's another one of them plot holes. I wasn't even going to bring that one up, because that was just exactly, you would need the mutant power. Now, the truth is the mutant power just a regeneration time set thing? Or is it the fact that she can retain the memories to continue on? Does it work hand in hand? There's a lot of questions to be asked there, and we can make assumptions. I'm sure plenty of people do. We can make those assumptions, but I don't think it's a very clear character. Does that make sense? It's kind of...
I like what they're trying to do with this, because the X-Men timeline is so convoluted, and they've talked about it, not just in the comic books, but in the movies and everything else, and how everything's all screwed up. And I do like how they're trying to take a step back and go, let's really try to refocus this. Let's really try to make this clear up all these timelines. And I do like that she's the key to all these major events we've had through X-Men history. The Sentinels, the Apocalypse, the Magneto, House of M stuff. So I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was a really good issue. And I can kind of see the bigger picture now as moving forward. Now, does it necessarily tie in with I guess it is Powers of 10. It's not Powers of X. It is Powers of 10. When Drew was saying it last week, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're stupid. And I read an article today, and Marvel said, no, it's called Powers of 10. Whatever. Yeah. I'll call it Powers of X just because it makes more sense to me.
I'm not Roman. I don't need Roman numerals.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I will say something that was kind of odd to me when I was reading this, right when I fell out of comic books, because I started getting very active in the military. I remember a character, and it kind of reminded me of this storyline. There was a character in X-Men called Forget-Me-Not. Do you remember him?
No.
Very vague. Only a few issues.
I forgot him.
And that was the thing. Everybody forgets him. He's always been there. And they went back into like X-Men lore where he was always there, but you can't ever remember him. He's in the X-Men Universe Encyclopedia as Forget-Me-Not. And it was kind of a cool take, and that kind of reminded me of this with the time setting over and everything. There's somebody there, it's always there, but for some reason they're just never been brought to light, and that was kind of this Forget-Me-Not character, and it just kind of reminded me of that.
Well, I mean, there was that one character in that Avengers No Road Home that kind of was the same way, that she came back and like she's always been there, but nobody's ever recognized her and nobody's ever noticed her. Kind of the same thing. But that, I think that's my my Marvel pick of the week, just because I'm kind of seeing where they're going, hopefully, with it and rebuilding this X-Men universe. I thought it was really good. It's sold out everywhere now. I mean, you can't pick it up at all.
Buying this up.
Okay. Man, we still got a lot of good books to go through here, and we're an hour in, but we still definitely got to go through some stuff here. We cannot go the show without talking about Absolute Carnage, for sure.
Yeah, this is my Marvel pick of the week. Yeah.
I was like, $8 for the freaking book. And, I was, I almost picked up a couple of the, I think it was a 1 in 10 or 1 in 25. Because usually my one store, 1 in 10, they don't mark it up $2. And I'm like, dude, okay, $2. I'll pay an extra $2 for a 1 in 10. And that's what I did with the Dark Age, and that's when I noticed, like, dude, $8 for this freaking issue? I mean, it's a thick issue. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of story here, but for $8, it's like, holy crap. I got the Art Germ cover, and I got the Aaron Cooter. Where is it? I have it right here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Cover here too, with this snake lady thingamahooter on there. I don't know who that is. She's not anywhere in that story. So I don't know. Maybe she'll show up later. I don't know. But talk about action going through this book. This book has a lot of freaking action in there. And it reads pretty quick for being a thick book too. I skimmed through it again this morning just so, because it was like a lot of information on there. Stuff was going on with Carnage coming back and Eddie and Spider-Man, and how Carnage is trying to get all these little pieces, because there's a codex between all the people who's worn the symbiote, and he's trying to collect all those codexes off their DNA, and he's been chasing Eddie. Now I don't remember. I maybe you can fill this in for me. I remember Eddie Brock losing the Venom symbiote. Fill me on how he did. I forgot how he lost it. Was it during War of Realms?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know he got that other gem that kind of gave him some of the same kind of powers.
The magical wish stone, yeah. Kind of gave him his powers. Some powers, yeah.
So we have Eddie and his son, trying to stay in hiding because of everything that's going on, and Eddie's trying to find a safe place for his son to stay while, all this stuff's trying to blow over. They're being followed, and they couldn't find out it's the symbiote in a trench coat, very 40s gangster looking, chasing them down. And it's probably for a good reason, because they end up getting attacked by Carnage, and the symbiote ends up bonded with Eddie, not to 100%. They don't have that same relationship, because Eddie doesn't really want that bond as much anymore. That's what it seemed like in the book. He's like, wait a minute, I don't want this again. But they find out, they end up going to Peter Parker, trying to figure out what's going on. So Eddie Brock does not know Peter Parker Spider-Man? I thought he knew that.
I thought he knew too. And in the book, it doesn't seem like he does. Well, he has to know it because he knows where he lives. They went to his house.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like Peter's putting on his outfit or just getting ready to take it off. Let me see here. This is for you. He says, no, well, when Peter Parker called me, I knew it was important. That's what he says to Eddie at the little cafe they're sitting at,
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I'm trying not to overthink that little aspect of it, because there's so much awesomeness in this.
Yeah. I love Peter Parker, or Spider-Man. He's his normal kind of smart-ass self. When they're sitting there talking to Deli, he's kind of just doing little quips and stuff. And then they get attacked. He's like, yeah, hold on a second, let me take care of this. Was it the place go get it robbed, and Spider-Man just kind of, yeah, I'll go take care of this real quick. And then they go to see not Reed Richards, they call Rex Strickland's safe house.
The other dimension, Reed Richards, yeah.
Yeah, the guy that looks kind of like an alien has that, that long freaking helmet on.
Yeah.
Guess he figured out a way. He built this machine 35 years ago to be able to, I'm not sure if it's extracted the codex from thing. He's like, well, we haven't tried it yet, so and they have the dialogue back and forth. I'm trying to think here. Oh, that's right. He says you need to go to and collect Cletus Cassidy would be targeted. So they're going to Ravencroft to try to get Cletus out, and that's when this big ass battle happens between Carnage and everything else. And it is freaking just a massive book and a lot of stuff going on. And I love the hell out of this. I can't wait to go forward with it too. They're getting their ass handed to him too, and Peter Parker's mask all torn up. And the Carnage says that we're not here to kill him. We're here to make friends.
Yes, and that last splash page, I'll just go ahead and show it because it is just awesome. That was so good.
Very puppet master, kind of look on that too. The controlling. But yeah, this was. I do like the fact, they're trapped in the cell and they're trying to get out. Spidey's like, oh man, this is going to hurt. He ends up wrapping his fists in web and trying to break through that concrete, and, just boom, boom. And yeah, it was good stuff. I definitely enjoyed it. I read through twice. Looking forward to this story going forward. Hopefully they're not going to be $8 a piece. Hopefully they'll drop down to at least $4.99. We'll see.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
Well, I went with this one per store variant right here.
How much you had to pay for that? Did they give you a deal?
Kind of, sort of. I did it on a bulk deal. I got a bunch of other stuff and got a deal on the other stuff to be able to afford it. Yeah, I don't like paying full price for things. I like this story because, again, it's another one of these stories where you're just hitting on various topics all while trying to explain the same story. What do I mean by that? We still deal with the issue of Eddie Brock not telling the villain that he's his father, not his older brother. Right? Sounds like some West Virginia conversation you need to have, but no, that's not the case here. And then, him dealing with not having his symbiote and being wanted by the police. And then, of course, the obvious jealousy between Venom and Spider-Man. They kind of squashed that to get this done, but they even mentioned that in here. I have to go talk to somebody I really don't want to deal with. And then all of a sudden, this thing completely flips script and it turns into a horror story, all while doing it, and it works so well. The transition to it is great. As a matter of fact, you even see the transition of it visually because you got the story that's running along, and then you get this silly kind of splash page thing happen right here, which is Vindictive Cakes, and then immediately it goes right into a horror story. It's like you got your serious, sad story, comedic moment, horror story throughout the rest of it, and it works so well. Yes, Carnage is back. Carnage is collecting bodies left and right. Peter Parker, yes, thank you for bringing him into it. That just makes sense. I absolutely love that. And then the calling card that it is actually Carnage with the nest of bodies laying in it, all because he's taken the codex from them. And then we immediately deal the thing with the not Reed Richards character. But then we get the most terrifying thing that you could possibly do. We get this page right here. And I say that this is the most significant. This and the next couple of pages are the most significant. Because characters literally walking through, tearing open his body, taking bits of him out, and chucking it into the cells of the villain.
That's right. I totally spaced that.
Ended up making them into symbiote Carnage-type characters as well. We get Venom again. I don't know what it is with comic books and the 45 1911 caliber. handgun, but that's always in there. Trying to drop some bodies. It's not working. They're just getting their butts handed to them left and right. Again, fail after fail. And then we get this creepy scene right here. That just is absolutely insane in the cell there with them. And then again, he's not there to kill anybody. He's there to literally make friends. The double entendre that's being used there. I love it. That's just great writing. He literally made these people and he needs friends. That was just awesome. I got the humor in that. I honestly, here's what I honestly want. I want a Donny Cates book that is not good. I want to own that book because it seems like anything he puts pen to paper to and tells a story on, it just automatically does great. Ryan Stegman on the art on this, J.P. Mylar and Frank Martin. That just seems like a very winning combination to me. I could just see them collaborating together and building this into something great without making it weird or awkward or hard transitions that don't make sense. This thing flowed so smoothly, and even to change its genre up from, a depressing melodrama to kind of comedic and then into the horror aspect of it, I thought that was just, and there's a little mystery behind it too. I think it's awesome. It's a hard stash for me. I can't wait for issue 2. And I'll be honest, even if issue 2 is $8, I'll probably spend it because I feel like I'm getting my money's worth.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. The part where, if we go back a little bit, we're talking about that relationship between Eddie and his son. He still thinks is his older brother, and they're walking through the street, and Eddie's trying to explain to them the severity of the situation, who Cletus Cassidy is, and why this is such a big deal, and his son asks, anything else horrifying I should know? And that little thought bulb pops up. He says, "You're my son, but I can't tell you because everything that ever touches me rots and withers and dies." And so it kind of really shows kind of how much Eddie's caring, because he doesn't want his kid to know that because he's so afraid that he's going to lose him.
It asks an important question. Is it important for the kid to know it?
Yeah.
Is it something? Yes, I get being honest and being truthful, but does it really help the situation in this one? And that's a real moral conflict that people actually have.
Uh-huh.
Is it good to just say, no, honey, you do look fat in that dress? Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
And it's that kind of situation right now. And I think that's something that people can relate to. And that's what good writers do. They take something that you can actually relate to and ask those questions and without directly asking you. And I think Cates does a very good job of that.
Yeah. I mean, is the truth really going to make that much of a difference in the situation? The little white lie, is like, okay, let's just keep everything happy and going forward versus let me tell you the truth and just change the dynamics of this whole thing completely.
Or it's like, we got enough stuff going on. How much can a child really handle in this situation?
Yeah, especially going into, we're trying to get him to a safe place to go through this whole thing with Carnage and what's going on. We really need to add that mental anguish onto him on top of, now, wait, this is my dad, and now he's separating me to keep me from here. What else is going to happen, But it's definitely some good stuff. Some of the panels at the end, I didn't think of like, okay, transitioning from, a superhero story to a horror story, which it literally does in that the Ravencroft. That is just flat out awesome. Now I'm looking forward to going forward with it. I don't think I'll be getting all the Carnage tie-ins with all the other books either, though. But what did you think of? I don't know, maybe because he's not whole, maybe he doesn't have all the codexes yet or whatever. But what do you think of Carnage's design here, where he's kind of like a spine and hips? What do you think of that?
I liked it because it kind of fit into the whole horror aspect of it. I can see why that would work. And do I hope that is continuous? No. Like, we got the point. Because I believe that's right after, in the heat of combat, something had happened to him. So he's kind of reforming, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like. So hopefully they kind of fill that in. And again, I still want the jaggedness, blurriness of them there, because I think that's what really makes them scary. As long as you keep them terrifying, it will impact and it will be great. And I think they're doing a good job of that. Normally I try not to comment on art. I do my best not to.
Yeah.
I'm not an art critic. But I know what I like. And I like it when Carnage does not look like a red version of Venom. I like it when he's just a little bit more creepier. And he's not the yelling guy. He's the guy that whispers.
Yeah.
That's truly scary.
Yeah. I see it. Maybe he's not up to strength yet. If you watch the Mummy movie, he's getting every little piece back. He's starting to build back his normal body. And maybe that's what they're doing with that as they're going forward. He's getting healthier. He's getting more whole as he infects and gets codex and stuff. We are, and oh my God, we're an hour 20 in, but man, we got so many other books that we got to cover. And I don't want to leave any of them behind. Let's go over. I've got to go over. I can't pass it up, and that's Space Bandits, because that was I was not going to pick this up. I seriously was like, I like the first one. I was at the comic store. I ran into the owner of another comic book store about 30, 40 miles away from me. I go there once in a while. If I'm going through town, I'll stop and talk to him. And we were standing outside waiting for the store. But I said, hey, you own that comic store up in Grants Pass? He's like, yeah. So we started chit-chatting back and forth. And store opens. We're going in. We're talking to each other. Hey, you reading this? You reading this? Because he was actually buying books for himself, because he pulled books out of his box to sell to his customers. He didn't get a chance to read it. So now he was down there buying books for himself so he could read the story. So he said, hey, did you pick up Space Bandits #2? And I said, no, I didn't. He goes, I read it last night. Pick it up. And I'm really kind of glad I did, because it's been a really good story. And again, we talked about it before, having strong female leads. I don't have a problem with that at all. These are two great, strong female leads, but they're not these man-hating, man-bashing female leads. Like, they're strong, they're female leads, they're kicking ass, and they're moving forward, and they're kicking some pretty big dudes' asses here, too. It starts out that this big fight that happens once a year, I think, that if you win the bouts, you get freedom. So the one girl's training to try to get freedom, but she realizes that the people she's going to be fighting, she's going to get her ass handed to her. And so she decides not to go that route. The other girl has a plan in order to escape, using her lizard, which she has a telepathic link with, that can kind of help guide and get him out of there. But the prison guards end up taking the lizard away, and but they know the plan roughly. They need to go in the bathroom when the fight's about to start, because the two guys are getting teleported out. They need to take their place, and they end up doing that, dispatching the people in the bathroom, jumping in the time portal, going on the ship. And that's when, like the one girl, she's constantly getting her ass kicked. She thinks she's this tough girl, but she's getting her ass kicked. But as soon as they teleport into the spaceship, let me find it here. They into the spaceship, and they're surrounded by the guys. They're like, hey, these aren't the guys who are supposed to be in the ship. We're expecting the guys, not these two girls. And the one girl that's kind of the planner, the thinker of the group, she goes, okay, do your thing. And kind of the same thing you talked about in Death Defying Daredevil, or not Daredevil, is the action part. They show her like moving throughout the panel, dispatching of these guys. And at the end, everybody's head's blown off, and they're like, okay, got it done. And that's how they're getting out. And now they're trying to build a plan on how to get each one of these guys from their previous crews, or her ex-boyfriend, how to get them back. And that's what is moving forward. I'm glad I picked this up. Mark Millar is kind of on the fence with a lot of things for me. I love Magic Order. Prophecy, is that what the one was called? I didn't like that one very much. So it's kind of like hit or miss. But this was good. I think I'm going to go and continue to pick up the other 4 issues for this run. Definitely a stash.
Definitely a stash. I'll go with that. Something I wish they did do more in this book. In the first issue, it was very heavily 80s themed. You
Oh
know, and
yeah,
in
yeah.
this issue, you didn't get too many of that, which is fine because it's technically a sci-fi story. So no sense in harping on that. I like this because it avoided something that is often used as criticism against books with powerful females in it, and that's creating what is known as a Mary Sue. Real quick history lesson: if you don't know what a Mary Sue is, the term came from the 1970s, where they created in a fanfare or fandom type film where they made a character for Star Trek named Mary Sue, and she was smarter than Spock. She was better leader than everybody. Just her presence made the story end in her favor, and it made for a very boring reading. And that's often a criticism that is used in comic books for like Captain America, or no, I'm sorry, Captain Marvel, and various characters like that. That there's no boundaries that they have to live in between. They can break all boundaries, right? And the environment that they control. And in this, we got boundaries. Like we know the one female, and let me make sure I get her name correctly. What did they call her? Thena, right? So Thena is the green-haired lady, and she is legitimately a badass. And we saw this in issue 1. She very skilled fighter, very adept with weapons, yada yada yada. So now we're going to stick her in a prison colony with bad villains, like genuinely bad guys. So it wouldn't make any sense for her to be the strongest one of all of them.
Yeah.
Plus, it also fits into the story that she can't fight her way out of it. It would take too much time. The story would just drag on. So she's easily dispatched pretty quickly by the first villain. Okay, let's listen to the smart girl who's legitimately smart, but doesn't tell anybody how smart she is. She just kind of tells what the plan's going to be, follow the order, it will fall into play. The whole, I love it when a plan comes together type scenario, right?
Uh-huh.
So she's already got all this thought up and figured out, and they kind of run through it. I really like the way this works. It's a timing thing. It's a physical thing. The two work together. It's almost like a buddy cop scenario type of thing. Oh, yeah, and what you were talking about, the action scenes
Yeah.
of her moving around, dispatching people as quickly as possible so they don't get caught. And then they sit there and they make a – I love the dump the bodies out the air chute scene. That is awesome. And I'm purposely using the word scene in this, and we'll talk about more of that in a minute. So they come up with a plan of who they're going to get. Apparently, they're going to go after the telepath team first, right? The 4 people that shot her in the chest and kind of screwed her over. And I really like sometimes a simple plan is the best plan, to shoot the guy in the head from far off.
Yeah.
He has some sort of power. Dispatch him pretty quick. I don't think the other ones are going to get dispatched that quickly. So we got to get a lizard back that she has a telepath with. We have a lover scorned, and we have a leader that's been screwed over, and that's going to be their revenge. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. I think this is going to be great. Again, great scenes in this, and the reason why do I call them scenes? Well, we know it's going to be on Netflix.
Yep.
And I hope that they kind of go along with the source material in this, because I would like to see this story right here, the way it is right now. I would very much enjoy that as it's shown, and that doesn't get too weird and they kind of trope onto the Mary Sue categories of it all. But this is good. We have our heroes were dispatched. Good. They learned from it. They got better. Now we're creating a story arc. And that's what intrigues people into reading these comic books, not some preachy message. And this plays out very well. I like this. Good job, Millar. I think that's like the 3rd comic book from you that I can actually tolerate. Thank you.
I like how they're building up that first guy they're going after on that 4-person crew. It's about Admiral Dax on the water world of Prism. 1,000 kills, expert marksman, never beaten in a fight in his life. 3 tours of duty in the war, knows how to use every single weapon, and they're trying to build him up to this big thing. And she's just on a hill with a sniper rifle, and the one girl's like, "Don't you feel like it's cheating a little? Why make life difficult?" And it just freaking caps him, and that's simple, you know. It seems It was funny they were building him up so much to be this badass, and he just got capped, you know. And to go back to the first issue. when the one girl got shot in the chest. I'm like, dude, shouldn't she be dead? And they kind of explain that here. I love that.
Yeah.
She's saying, hey, well, they don't know that, my species are, heart and everything, our major organs are up in our head, so is this intestines and stuff. So, okay, cool. I'm glad you went back and addressed that, because I was always wondered, dude, you should be dead.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was good. I thought they did a good job. And now they're going to go and they're going to go kick. And now we know, here's the greatest thing about this. We know that there's boundaries now, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not supremely the most ultimate thing in the entire universe. They're legitimate. And with them working together, they can do more. And I like that. That makes sense. Good job.
Okay, so we better go in lightning round. We are an hour and a half in. We're half an hour over our normal time for lightning round. You want to start with your lightning round?
Sure, I can go through mine really quick. Justice League number 29. This is going into the year of the villain. This is not a good issue. This is a blast. I don't know what it is, why they keep trying to push over Jarro and Starro and that whole narrative on us, but not overly good. Doesn't really explain much, nor does it really develop, other than at the end, we find out that they have a piece of the Ancient One, Starro. What they're going to do with it, we don't know. It's just words. Next, Immortal Hulk. Still good. This is kind of a filler issue right now, just to kind of explain things going on in it. We get a little Joe Fix-It in it. We find out that Area 51 and Groom Lake and remote viewing is something that happens in this universe now. Age of Atlantis. Hey, you want to piss off a bunch of agents? Tell them they're all the same and they
Agent
should
of Atlas
to each other. I'm sorry?
Atlas?
Agent. What did I say?
Atlantis.
Oh, Atlas. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's how unaffected I am by this book. Yeah, this is horrible. The second story in it's pretty good. Wish I got some more of that, but no, we got to sit here and listen to how all Asians are the same.
Yeah, I was going to add that. So we're in a book with completely all Asian characters, and they're telling them they're all the same?
They should live next door to each other.
Oh, God. How do they get away with that nowadays?
I don't know, but I lived 2 years in Korea. I'm going to tell you right now, you can't convince a Korean to get along with somebody from Japan in most cases.
Oh, really? No.
Like, it's kind of weird. There's a little history there.
Yeah.
Moving on. Dead Man Logan. Hey, Frankenstein Sabretooth comes to Forge's home, wants to kick some butt, and Speedball says, nuh-uh, falls off a cliff and blows everybody up. In the meantime, Frankenstein Sabretooth has Baby Hulk, and everybody's going after to go get Baby Hulk. It almost kind of reminds me of Raising Arizona. Remember that movie?
Oh, yeah. I just watched that just a month or so back.
Look,
yeah.
The whole background and everything. It's ridiculous. It's great. Moving on. Old Man Quill, he finds out he's been imagining all the Guardians, and that does some stuff to him. The Universal Church, worse than Jehovah's Witnesses knocking on doors, come to get him. He's got to go downstairs and put on a Hulkbuster suit to tell him, no, I don't believe in your God. Moving on. Cosmic Ghost Rider destroys Marvel history. You just got to pick them all up and read them together. I like this story. I like how they tied this off and ended it. So everything's cleaned up and it makes sense. Good stuff going on there. And of course, Black Cat had to go with that cover because everybody else did. We find out this is where things got weird because they don't know how to end a story. Because Black Cat's lucky, technically nothing can happen to her. I thought that was a cheap way out of this story. I did not like it. I like the ghost dog. Silly talking animals always make me laugh. And the double snake capturing him. What's most funny about this, the green ghost dog that belongs to Doctor Strange confuses Black Cat with Silver Sable. And they just kind of play along with it, and the constant correcting themselves. Like, oh yeah, I'm Silver Sable. That was funny. So yeah, pretty good. But again, I'm lucky, so nothing can touch me. Kind of, I didn't really like that.
It's very, the girl from Deadpool, whatever. Sorry, Domino.
Oh, Domino. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's her superpower, apparently. I guess. I don't know. Next, Berserker Unbound. This is good. Not Conan, but Conan. Is the king of a village. He loves to go off and go to war, leaves his family and kid behind. Some raiders come in, slaughter the family. So now we got a heartfelt story. Magic happens randomly in the middle of this thing. Transport him to Central. I'm assuming Central Park. I'll just say Central Park. If I'm wrong, you can correct me in the chat. Sends him to Central Park, and now he's in our times, and that should be interesting. I think what this is going to end up kind of sort of maybe being is like that Hercules visits New York with Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe not as funny. I don't know how that's going to translate. It should be interesting. Let's see where this goes. This is just a startup issue. Typical tropes being used. Let's see what the next issue looks like. Hopefully that turns out to be better. That's all I read. What did you read?
Immortal Hulk number 22. The only really thing significant about this issue is the general, the bad guy that's been trying to capture Hulk. Now he's in an abomination suit, and it's kind of affecting how he's constantly bleeding from the nose. He's having some physical transformations being in that suit. It was okay. It wasn't great. Berserker Unbound, Conan. That's I kept thinking Conan. You know, there wasn't anything new to the story. Red Sonja did this storyline essentially a year and a half ago when she comes to modern day New York. That's Red Sonja, and she's almost naked in almost every single issue that I read of that. I'm like, I like that a lot better. This is only 4 issues long. I'll probably pick up the other 3 issues just to kind of see where it's going. I might not pay cover price for them. Black Cat number 3, didn't read it. Picked up that cover there. That same cover you were showing?
No.
I think this is J. Scott Campbell cover. I don't know who was the artist on that one you got.
I don't know.
That's not Dodson, is it?
I think it is, actually.
Sea of Stars number 2. Picked this up yesterday. I was watching John's Comics with Kids. If you ever watched that show, him and his daughters or kids read comics. He read this book. Somebody in the chat on the live stream said that this is Finding Nemo in space. I can see that. That's a little bit of that. But this story takes more on the dad's perspective. At the end of the first issue, Dad gets swallowed by that sea shark, and that's all we know of him at that end of that issue. And it's more focused on the son. This issue is more focused on him with a little bit on the son at the end. He's going through, he's constantly getting his ass handed to him, just fighting his way through space monkeys after getting swallowed by the shark. He's getting zapped by some security system on the ship he finds, almost getting eaten by the plant from Feed Me, Seymour, Feed Me. You know, it's a big old plant that's trying to eat him. It's good stuff. I'm glad I picked that up. Punisher number 14. Team up Punisher, Black Widow, Night Thrasher, and Moon Knight. So some weird kind of team up there with that one. This again, too, Punisher says, I don't need help, and Black Widow's constantly telling him, no, shut up, we're here to help you. It's kind of nice to see Night Thrasher in there, because I remember Night Thrasher when he first came out in early 90s, and I was like picking him, and I actually like Night Thrasher. I go back and read it now, and I go, oh, that was garbage, but you know,
like most things in the 90s, it was kind of
Dead Man Logan number 10. We find out all the army are little clones of Sabretooth too.
Yes.
I do love the fact when Speedball gets out of his cage, you know, Speedball, right? That's his name?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought it was so funny. He's like, guys, where is everybody? You know, and they had no clue to what's going on. And he's like jittering, you know, and then he gets out and he ends up killing himself and destroying the army. Coffin Bound by Image Comics. I actually enjoyed this book, Post-Apocalyptic World. She wakes up in her house. I'm not sure if he's imaginary yet. He's like a human body with a bird cage with a vulture head skull. And that's the guy who's talking. That's her friend. And a lot of like magical kind of stuff happening, but post-apocalyptic. Definitely good stuff. And I'll probably pick up issue 2 on that one. This is only a cover by just because it's Elvira. And there's always 2 things I like about Elvira. Invisible Woman number 2, didn't read it. Adam Hughes cover. It's kind of a cool cover. I like that. And Justice League, didn't get a chance to read that one either. So those are the books of the weeks. I can't believe I have time to sit there and read all that crap with everything else going on live and try to take notes and all that fun stuff. So that is it. Another shout out to Paul again for his birthday. Make sure you go over to Facebook and say happy B-Day to him or wherever he is. I know sometimes you show up on Comic Core, Golden Age guys show on there. Definitely stop by and say happy birthday to him. Think of social media. We do have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, so follow us on all that stuff. I did post a comment on the Facebook group a couple days ago. Show me what's in your collection. How do you collect, or what do you use to track your account or your collection? How many books do you have in your collection? Go check that out. Something to share. I forgot who it was. I'm thinking like I have a lot of books, 6,000 books, 21,000 books. And I'm like, holy crap, dude, where's he storing all this crap? Is it in the garage, in the attic? I don't know. But I was going to ask that question to him because that's like almost 4 times of what I have here. And I'm like, holy crap, man. That's a lot of damn books. We do have our podcast. We do have our Patreon. So if you want to go support our Patreon, we have our books of the month. Through the books are headed out here pretty soon. And we got the 3rd book. Could be picking damn, I didn't pick a winner yet. I gotta get the winner and post it on the Facebook or
just
Instagram.
Pick a random person. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. If you do want to support us on Patreon, please go support us on Patreon. We put a lot of effort, a lot of work into this, and we definitely take time out of our week to stop, read books, try to make notes, come on here and talk. So definitely, if you like to, we'd appreciate it. Support us on Patreon. As Drew would say, give him walking around money, but Drew does not get a percentage of this. It all goes to the books, it all goes to the software and everything else we use to create the show. So I think that's it. Any last? We do have a couple new subs. I will give them quick shouts out. We have I'm on the wrong. No, I'm not. Yeah, I am. I'm on the wrong. Damn it, you son of a! I don't want to talk to you. Where is it? There it is. Blast it or stash it. Notifications. The Dorkeries, new sub to our channel, as well as X Shelly Cakes X. So definitely go check those guys out.
Shelly Cakes X. That's an interesting name.
Yeah, she's on Instagram too. I think Instagram and Twitter. And Unruly Simeon. He was back on August 2nd. So few new subs to our channel. So yeah, I can't believe we've been doing this for almost or just over 3 years, and still going.
Not me.
Not you. You've been on since C2E2. Right around there. 6 months, 8 months.
Sure.
Why not? Okay. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Whether you blast it, whether you stash it, happy reading, and we'll see you guys next week. You trying to just poke me with your pen? Later, guys.
Bye.